I've been studying that footage from that third race. I was really happy with the car, but we finished 4th place. We had some really heavy hitters in front of us that I know is going to be my competition if I go to a big race with this car right here. So we've got to find some more speed. After really looking at the footage and thinking about how the car was handling for me, I was occasionally having a little bit of shove on the nose. It was understeering just a little bit according to how I entered the track. I tried a lot of different stuff. The car really liked for me to let it just roll in free with very little brake at all, just a gentle lift of the throttle and just let the car roll over. But it did have some understeer depending on exactly where my line was, so I need to deal with that. It was really good in the center. I could tell, especially when I was challenging the guy that was in 3rd place, like I had speed on him in the center. I could pick my throttle up sooner and I could pull forward. But as we exited off the turn, I definitely was running out of drive. And it looked like that, like, for example, the guy in front of me, his drive was picking up, my drive was going away. And so that was just really hurting me on being able to take the speed that I had in the center and carry it into the exit. All right, so studying that, it's like, what do? We know we're fairly close. We don't want to make the car start understeering and shoving the nose in the center of the turn. We're good there, but we're occasionally pushing a little bit on the entry, and we definitely need more on the exit. I wrote out all the types of adjustments that I had learned and what works. Some of this I got from other people, and then also I've come up with some of it on my own, and I put it all into one sheet, and I'm looking through it, and I'm thinking the right front spring, I need to go up on right, and I'll talk about this more in a little while. But this right front spring right here, I'm on a 950 on this right front. And in my mind, it's like everybody talks about, you know, you should be on a 650, a 700, a 800, a 850. And I'm already on a 950, and that's from working with Mr. J. Neal with BSB. Thank you, Mr. J. And he had sent me, you know, I got like a 950, a 1,000-pound spring, a 1050 spring. And yeah, I need to go up on rate. It's not what you think the perfect setup is when you start running the car. It's what the car tells you it needs. Like every car and how you drive it, it's uniquely different. And this car is screaming at me, I need more right front spring rate. So we're gonna go up 100 pounds on that spring rate. But a really important point on this video, I want to show y'all how I'm going to do this while making sure the car is exactly the same in its dynamic position. So we're going to use the load stick in the down number in order to change the spring out. We've already recorded what this 950 is, so all we've got to do is pull it out, use our load stick, and then set it to the exact same spot with a 1050. All right, let's get to it. Get it out like it right there. All right, so I'm going to turn you over. And while we got it out, of course, we're going to wash our Torrington bearing. And I washed this car Monday and went over it looking for anything broke. And, you know, that's an important point. I washed the car. And, of course, I washed all of this really good. So I got a little bit of rust marks on it, which is fine. It's just like stain. But, yeah, it's pretty clean. But I'm going to throw it in the parts washer nonetheless. I'm going to wash it and put some fresh grease on it and put this new 1050 back in. It was pretty clean. Little bit of grit probably pushed up in there from where I've washed. This is just red and tacky is what I'm using. I don't know that there's a recommendation. I think it's supposed to be grease, not lightweight oil. You want something that's going to stay in there in case you get water up in it, you know. You don't want to just wash it out. But I do know, everybody says if you run this thing, you have got to do constant maintenance on them. And I'm doing it because I don't want to leave nothing on the table. And I think that this right here is part of the reason that I'm so surprised at running higher spring rates than what I thought I would. I think the combination of the drop cup and the Torrington bearing is just making this car rotate over on the right front so much easier. The spring table difference in the front, and then the bearing itself letting that spring be able to twist as it collapses, so this gets that natural movement that it wants to make. I think the two of those, that's where the higher rate is coming from. And so just keep that in mind. I think that, like, for example, if I didn't have the drop cup and I didn't have the bearing, you know, I bet I wouldn't be like going to a 1050. I bet it would be more of a 850 or a 900 or a 950 or something. Just that's what my gut's telling me on that. Okay, so now I've got that in there, looking good. Take that 1050, turn you over. My feature winning spring right there. Counting on you there, buddy. Make sure that all looks good. Yep, that looks good. Throw them in there. Get you all lined up. Oh, that's quicker. That goes. Okay, now I've got that. Just load the stick back on there. Not gonna run that jack down. I'm gonna take jacks all the way up. I'm gonna pull this thing down to 15¼ inches. And if you're watching my second run on this, I think, go back a couple episodes. We had gotten a reading at Clay Hill. We knew that 15¼ inches was 2,000 pounds. And we're zeroed the same way, so I know I can go to 15¼ and then I can run that jack bolt down till it hits 2,000 pounds. And we're at the exact same down position when we do that. So that's what we're gonna do. I've pulled the load stick down until my center to center is 15¼ again. But see, I'm only at 1,740 pounds because I hadn't run that jack bolt down far enough yet. There we go. Now we've got a different spring with a different rate, but we can expect the car to get over on the right front to the exact same spot on this track because we had previously run the car, we had made measurements and made a recording, and we knew that 15¼ inches center to center would hold 2,000 pounds. And so, like, it doesn't matter what rate spring we put in this right front, if we set up to that exact same number, we can expect the car to go to that point. I can make other changes on other jack bolts. I can change the left percentage, the cross, the bite, all of those things. But if I don't actually physically move that jack bolt, the car in dynamics should get back to this point. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to have the exact same amount of drive in the left rear because all the other changes are going to affect other things. But we've got this point fixed. And so we're not planning to change that jack bolt anymore in the setup, but we do have some other setup changes that are coming because we're going to race the car tonight, so let's get on those. Well, the next thing we're going to work on, I'm going to decrease the left side percentage on this car. We got a piece of lead back here we're going to pull off, so let's get that done. Took a 25-pound block of lead off of my left rear spring. It was right over the top of my left rear spring. Why am I doing that? I'm taking left side percentage out of the car, which could be counterintuitive if you just looked at it alone, but I'm trying to accomplish something. The right rear spring I've got in the car, I want to stay with a little bit higher rate on my right rear spring. Makes the car a lot more stable. It's going to help free the car up. Really want to stay with that. But watching the video, that spring was just not getting loaded like what I wanted. I want to see that spring when that car goes through into the corner. I want to see some load go into that spring. I want to see that spring, you know, move down 1 inch to 2 inches. And I just wasn't seeing it in the video. I don't want to take the bite out of the car. Like if I took cross out of the car, well, obviously that's going to push weight into that right rear. We don't want to do that. So instead, what we're doing is that we're taking left side percentage out of the car, specifically off the left rear, and we've left that extra 40 we put out on the right rear, so we're shifting weight across the back of the car. Then we're going to turn around and crank cross back into the car to put the left rear bite back where we need it. A little bit different. It's going to make the car drive different, but I do think it's going to improve the car overall. Now that that's done, I'm going to look at the ride heights and the bite that's in the left rear of the car. Here's our final setup numbers. The left changed very little, 53.4 Rear's at 55%. Part of that, it's really like 54, 7, or 8. I don't have my fenders and my hood on right now. It makes it slightly different on the rear percentage. And also, it's like full of fuel. Cross went up pretty significantly, 52.2. Our left rear bite's up to 170 pounds now, so we've went up quite another step on the left rear bite. We don't want to just go crazy on that left rear bite because we're trying to keep the car drivable. Figure out what we can do to just put a little more in it, a little more in it. But the front end has got to continue to work. We've got to continue to be able to steer the car. So now we're at 170. I got a feeling that's probably all we're going to be able to put in it. But we'll see. We'll see. Leaving the droop alone on the left front chain. It can drop 1.25 inches. We're just going to leave it there. The left rear droop, I've got it up to 3.5 inches now of left rear drop. And then the preload, whenever the chain on the left rear gets tight, I've still got that spring with a 320 pounds cranked into it. We left the left rear alone. The lead alone is at 1/2 inch. Ride heights, I've changed them pretty significantly. Now that right front drops some by going up on that spring rate. So now we're at 7 7/8. Left that alone. I dropped that left front just a little bit, got it to 8 1/4. I'm at 11.5 on the left rear, and I'm at 10 3/4 on the right rear. That little bit of change that we've made here and all, we've actually dropped that right rear down, got a little more compression on that spring at static ride height, which that's what I was after. Of course, the spring change that we made, everything else here is the same. Same springs, same shocks and everything other than that right front change right there. Okay, setup sheet right here. So I wanted to have something that I could help y'all out with and to help me too. So I have got it. I'm covering everything, the spring changes, the chains, percentages, you know, lead ballast, like everything, stagger, brake bias, trailing arms. Like I've got all kind of stuff on this sheet right here. And the way I did this to make it easy to work with, dirtracelife.com, I just put this sheet right in the front of the website. So if you got your cell phone, you're out in the shop working on your car, you're at the track or whatever, just go to dirtracelife.com and boom, this setup sheet, you can just zoom in on it, look at what you want to look at, and then if you want to print this off or you want to download it or anything, I put a link right under it where that you can print it off like this or save it as a PDF just like this right here as well. So go check this out. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's everything that I have learned over the years all in one page to try to help out as many people as I can, you know, racing stock cars. This is not for modifieds or late models or something. This is specifically for stock cars. So if it's helpful, leave a comment. If you see something on here that you disagree with, that's okay. Leave a comment. I mean, like I said, if we get a lot of feedback or we see that there's something we can improve, we'll change this. It's not a problem. But I hope it's helpful, so go check it out. Now, it's hot. Let's go race. All right, let's go. The sun has went down and it has finally started to cool off some. It has been a hot dude today. Well, I don't think you got to see much footage from the heat race because, I mean, I ate a lot of dirt. I ate so much dirt that I was busier pulling tear-offs than I was steering the car. Didn't go nowhere. Didn't really like the setup. I freed the car up on entry quite a bit. The 170 pounds of bite on the car, no. I'm gonna take some of that preload on that left rear out, which is gonna drop that bite. Right now I got it about 320 pounds preload. So I'm gonna take, let's see, it's 1/8 inch. I'm gonna take 2 full rounds out. That's 1/4 inch on that spring. Track's slicking off, so that should be okay. But like, man, this car was like, woo, when she kicked out, I could tell I had a lot of left rear in the car. And so she would just slide. It would eventually hook into the right rear, but the track was loose. It was a lot of loose material on the track, so it's kind of hard for me to tell. But overall, I felt like it had too much bite in the car, so get in here and get this thing turned down a little bit. See if I can calm it down, find that balance. Disappointed in how that went last night. A lot of loose material on the track all night long. In the heat race, I think the changes that I made were right, but it was really hard for me to tell. There was a ton of just loose material. That dirt doesn't have really any clay left in it. It's just wore out, and it had a lot of water on it. And so it was like this loose, gritty material. And, you know, I really couldn't get a bite. And I was just eating so much from the cars in front of me and just tearing tear-offs like crazy. I just never went anywhere in the heat race. But I think the setup was actually right. And then, I guess it was heat exhaustion or what, but I went the wrong way. I took some bite out of the car, which y'all saw that. I don't know what I was thinking, y'all. In my mind, I guess I thought that was gonna blow off the track and the track was gonna like slick up. And I was gonna, like, lap speeds would slow down and I'd be wanting to be able to roll into that corner and that would be better. That was a bad move. This car's telling me it wants more bite. I had put, you know, more bite in it and went out and run that heat race, and I think the car was actually responding to it. It's just, you know, I was buzzing the tires some because of all the loose material. If anything, I probably should have went up on bite even more because, yeah, the track did slick off some, but I took all the drive out of the car. And the other part of the equation that I'm looking at here is like, okay, I'm gonna leave this 1050 I went to on the right front. I'm gonna leave like going up on the bike for sure. I'll probably at my next race stay at 170. But I gotta order another spring from Mr. J. That 250 it's too much. I just didn't feel like that when I got into the corner, I was really getting the car to load into the right rear at all. It felt like it was just staying up on top of the track. So we're gonna look at the footage, but like looking at the wear marks on the shock and everything, it looks like that the right rear shock just wasn't working a lot. And that's the one that's got a little more rebound on it as well that I'm running. So I'm gonna go down on rate on the right rear as well. And I had to pull off the track in the feature, which I wasn't going anywhere anyway. All this mud on this radiator, y'all look at this. That's where that there was so much loose debris churning, you know, and that was like in the, you know, like it was just churning this loose debris so much that it covered over my radiator, and that's without any holes in the front of the nose. And so anyway, I'm in the feature race, and I'm not going anywhere. And anyway, and I'm watching, and I'm, you know, 230, 240, 250, and I'm like, I'm done. And I drove off the track, and by the time I got to my trailer, you know, I had the car out of gear, and, you know, was holding it at 3,000 RPMs trying to pull some air through the radiator, and it was at 260, and I just had to shut it off. 30-pound cap on it, and we could hear it starting to crack that cap just a little bit. You know, it was steaming just a little. And I checked it this morning, and it's still, you know, it's near full of water, you know, down 2 inches. Cranked right up, never lost power on the track, nothing like that. I think it's fine, but man, I can't take too many chances like it right there. And I'm looking, and I have got like this rabbit wire mesh right here. Now I'm heading to the hardware store. I need to get some full screen material, like door screen material, and put as well, because that right there, I cannot, that's a very expensive engine. Cannot be doing that right there, y'all. Hey, I'm not perfect, you know. I'm chasing this setup. I'm trying to give the car what it wants. And, you know, we're going to have to make changes to try to figure out what's better. And sometimes it's not. And, buddy, when I took that bite out of it last night, that was stupid. I'm just, it is what it is. But I learned from it. Hang on a second, y'all. Bonus content. Y'all see Rachel done a number on the Camaro. Actually, this wasn't her fault. Another guy lost control of his car and just cut down, slammed into her right front in the feature and put her out. It's not a big deal, but it just wiped out that upper control arm on it. And of course, this whole thing was laid over, and we was able to take a winch and just drag it onto the trailer last night. But I was going to show y'all what I do to get these things unloaded when they're like this. Sometimes I will just fix them on the trailer, or fix them enough to be able to unload them on the trailer. But I always have a backup plan, so check this out. So I keep these furniture dollies, and so you see that furniture dolly, see that block of wood sitting there, and this tire is like not really traveling on the trailer right there. But that's what I'll do. I'll like take and throw a furniture dolly up underneath it. And anyway, that one is not. I got some smaller dollies that I normally use, but that big one was the one I had in front of me, so I throwed it under it, and it works pretty good. We're gonna unload it, get in the shop. And she said the car actually, she feels like this car is doing what she expects it to do. She's just, you know, like as far as she said, her repeatability. Like sometimes when she's, like she can tell when she hits her numbers right and the car rolls and does exactly what she wants, but then she's just making mistakes occasionally. So that's just working from a rookie into, you know, someone with some experience. So I'm happy with how she done. I'm happy with how she done last night. Everything's going good for her. Get this car back together July 4th weekend. I'm gonna try to let her race somewhere and me not take my car where I can focus on her, because like last night I couldn't see her race or nothing because ours was back to back. I don't like that part of it. So anyway, just a little something else there to show y'all. See you next time.